Kwaj by the adult pool, there's a small building, let's call it a shack, and multiple antennas around it. Welcome to the Ham Radio Shack.
Ham radio, also known as amateur radio, that is a means of transmission so that I think back during the war that amateurs could communicate with one another during emergencies. And it just became a hobby, and it just bloomed from there.
Randall has been enjoying the ham radio hobby for years and just happens to be our engineer for AFN here on the island.
Ham radio is one of those hobbies where you try to talk with people who are in remote locations. Kwaj is unique because there's really only one way to communicate ham radio-wise, and that's through this facility. So when we do get on the radio here, people are lining up to talk to us because it's such a unique location. And they're also very curious about the island and what it's like and what the weather and temperature is like. And they're also fascinated by the fact that there's no cars on the island, things like that. Back in the old days, not so much now, whenever you make a contact with a ham radio operator from another country or another state, you would swap what's called a QSL card. In other words, I would send that person a QSL card, he would send me a QSL card. You send those off and they send it back, but they're very unique cards. They're very collectible.
The shack has a box full of these cards from all over the world. So what is the purpose of still having ham radio here on island?
What makes this Mars station vital for Kwaj is that there is one fiber optic cable that connects us with the rest of the world. And if something happens with that fiber optic cable, it gets cut, then we're pretty cut off from the island with the exception of satellite communications on the mission side of the island. So it is a way that in a situation like that, we can get messages back to loved ones to let their families know that they are okay and that they just don't have a way to communicate with them currently. There's basically three modes of communication in ham radio. There's the old style Morse code, which you can kind of see a key over here. And then there's voice. That's probably the most common form. And then lastly, there's digital communications when computers became popular. So now we can communicate via computer also.
Now we have all used a walkie-talkie, but how does the radio send a signal to such great distances?
So there's three ways that we communicate on a ham radio. On the VHF, UHF frequencies, it's point to point, so we can communicate on this island. The second way that we communicate is with the big radios. They send a signal up to the ionosphere that reflects radio waves, and it bounces off the ionosphere back down, and we can communicate with people in other countries. And the third way that we communicate is we bounce the signal off of something else. We do moon bounce, or we communicate straight up to a satellite. For instance, the space station goes by here. Basically, the way amateur radio frequencies are set up is depending on what license you have, gives you more and more frequencies that you can talk. For instance, if you just have a technician class, you have a limited amount of frequencies that you can talk on in the HF band. And if you have the next class up, which is called the general class, it expands the range so that you have more range of frequencies that you can talk on. And it also, there's not as crowded, obviously, because you don't have the technicians able to talk on those bands. And then lastly, you have what's called an extra class license, which is sort of the master class, and that gives you even more additional frequencies that you can talk on, and it's also less populated.
So if you think you may be interested in ham radio, here's how to get started.
There's a website called arrl.org, and that pretty much will give you all the information that you need to get started in ham radio. It basically requires you to take a test. The first test is a technician class test. Here on the island, we can't give that test yet because we only have 2 active ham radio operators that we know of. Once we get a third operator, then we'll be able to conduct the tests here on the island and actually get people certified to be a ham radio operator right here on Kwaj.
Or if you just want to visit the place and learn a little more, you can do that too.
We're here on Friday evenings, normally between 6 and 8 o'clock. That's our normal time that we come here and just check on the equipment and things like that. So most people we just tell, please drop by, and we can give you more information about that.
Ham radio is a unique hobby using older technology to communicate with people all around the world.
You know what the funnest part about being at the Ham Shack is when someone knocks on the door and they actually think there's real hams in here. They're, you know, like a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
So they're very disappointed sometimes when they see that it's actually radio equipment.
So to clarify, there's not ham sandwiches.
No ham sandwiches, no.
Okay.
X-ray 4, Quebec Delta, calling CQ, CQDX.
Some may not be aware of this even being available, but the Self-Help Building is here designed to help both BQ and housing residents to help with DIY and supplying some basic needs for your home.
The Self-Help is a service provided by the Installation Command to support the residential needs in the form of steam cleaners, pressure washers, plumbing fixtures, DIY items, light bulbs, and other items for a community. And that is what the Self-Help supports, is we support that residential requirement. If there's something that the residential need requires more than what they can handle, then the other side of my warehouse is what handles those issues.
If you were looking for supplies for your housing need, the location of the Self-Help Building is pretty easy to find.
So if you go to the defect, you look at IT Building 806, and then behind Building 806 is where we are. The hours for the Self-Help, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Some of the most popular items are light bulbs, air filters, or recently paint supplies.
We have two types of customers. We have the customer who is looking for something random, and then we try to help them with what we have. Or somebody will come with us, like say light bulbs, for example. They'll give us the bad light bulb, and then we give them out another one, provided we have what's on our shelf.
To help the department keep log of supplies, when you receive an item, you will fill out an item log or a tool form if you are borrowing a tool to use temporarily.
Yes, there's a paperwork. The customer will sign into our customer log. From that customer log, the customer will just sign in what they take, so therefore we can track our inventory, so we can also keep up with our ordering. But we also have a tool log, so the steam cleaner will be classified as an individual tool, so therefore the customer will sign into a log when we issue out the steam cleaner or the pressure washer. In like 48 hours they have to return it. We'll go over what the parts are, so the way we give it to them is the way they give it back.
For any tool or machine you would like to use, the employees will give you a guide on how to use the item, as well as how it should be returned in the proper condition. If there's an item consistently needed by customers, the department will keep track of that and look into adding that to their stock.
For example, this certain specific stove has a bigger grease lid more than what I have on stock. Provided a customer can provide me a sample of what I'm looking for, I will research it and I will add it, and I'll probably wind up ordering it.
So if you are in need of a light bulb, air filter, maybe a miscellaneous tool for a project, don't forget to come by Self-Help on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Welcome to Learning Cousin Mazel. This is your girl here, Meba Clarence. We're going to learn some words or phrases to get you speaking better in the Marshall Islands. Today's words are etam and etan, and it's pronounced etam, etan. Etam means what is your name. Etan means what is or her, or even what is that item name. Now go out and practice making some new friends using the words etam and etan. And tune in next time to learn more Cousin Mazel.
Golf carts are a luxury we all get to enjoy. They can get you from A to B really quickly, they're environmentally friendly, and they're pretty fun to drive. So how do you rent one of these things? Head to building 805 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Head to the back of the library, fill out an agreement form, and show your Kwaj license to the clerk. There are 3 types of carts: a 4-seater, a 6-seater, and an 8-seater. There is a $10 charge for every 30 minutes you're late, so try to bring it in on time. Also, if you do come back after hours, drop your key in the library drop box. Not the AFN drop box, the library drop box. This is my stop. I'll see you around the island.